Do you want to make more ambitious work than you're currently making, be it larger work or paintings or drawings that incorporate multiple different subject matters, and you're just not sure where to even begin, and therefore you're not making it yet? In today's video, I'm going to talk with you about 3 things to consider before you even begin the painting or the drawing that will have multiple effects on your work. Not only make the process of making the work more enjoyable and more efficient, but save a lot of heartache along the way. The first thing to consider before jumping into an ambitious work of art, rather than just jumping in headfirst without any forethought, is to execute some preparatory sketches. These sketches can be very simple: a pen or a pencil on a single notepad, and just planning out the big shapes, the composition of the painting or the drawing. Do it on the same ratio as the larger work you're planning. So, if it's a 3:4 ratio, you can draw a simple 3" by 4" square and plan out those big shapes. I hear you. You might be thinking, doing preparatory sketches really kills the excitement of making the finished piece for me. I used to feel the same way as well, but I found that by jumping in headfirst without any preparatory sketches to a large painting inevitably made the process much more difficult. I wasted a lot of paint because I wouldn't think through all of the potential roadblocks that I would be hitting along my way on my path of making the piece beforehand. So now I'm working at a 36x48" scale, and my problem area is quite large that I need to figure out how to solve. It's going to take a lot more time and just be a lot more difficult when I could have solved the problem with a small preparatory sketch. For example, maybe you're working on a large multi-figure piece and you jump in without a preparatory sketch, and all of a sudden the main fingers are dropping off the bottom of the canvas, and they're a vital part of the story that you're telling in a painting. A preparatory sketch would get you acquainted with the shapes and the placement on the canvas before you jump into the main painting. I have found that doing these simple sketches really doesn't eliminate the excitement of making the final piece. It actually just aids in the process. Okay, the second thing to consider: you have your preparatory sketch, you're understanding the shapes and how they're relating to each other. Next, I would consider making a color study. Again, it doesn't have to be large. I actually would recommend that it's quite small so that you can focus on the main visual intention of your ambitious work of art. What is the overall color harmony that you're going for? Why is this helpful? Because when you jump into the larger work, if you don't have a roadmap ahead of you of this is the main color, we can get so caught up in all the details. On the small sketch, you could paint an entire face in 3 strokes because it's just so small. You're going to keep very simple values and clean color happening there. Whereas when you begin the large or ambitious work, suddenly it's going to take several hundred strokes to make the same area in the painting. And you can get so caught up in the details as you work on them that suddenly all the values start shifting and becoming much more contrasted. And all of a sudden the colors, there's so many colors happening here when that wasn't your main intention. A small color study helps so much to understand the overall colors that you want to have in the painting, as well as before you even begin understanding, all right, do I want to tone the canvas a color that's going to harmonize with the colors that are in the painting? Or is this color story going to be aided by toning the canvas a complementary color to the colors that are happening? So there's vibration happening with the eye. See, these sketches that you do, they don't take very much time, and they help you to think about the painting through every step of the process, from the initial wash to the final strokes. It's sort of I would say, like when you're cooking and you read the recipe beforehand, so you know all of the steps that are going to be happening throughout the painting process. It hasn't taken any of the enjoyment out of the actual process of cooking and smelling the amazing flavors as they meld together, and certainly not out of eating the meal at the end. But what it does do is save you a heart attack when you're reaching the end of the cooking process. You're hungry, your family is hungry, you're ready to eat, and you realize that you forgot to boil the noodles and you have to wait now 20 minutes to put it on the table. That's what these preparatory sketches act like in the process of painting. Thinking through all of the potential issues and creating a roadmap before you begin. The third thing to consider before you even begin the painting, and the reason why these preparatory sketches and color studies I find to be so helpful, is as you then jump into the painting and start to work, keep the preparatory sketches close by. And here's the third point. Stay true to your intention. I touched on it a little bit already, but as we jump into the larger or more ambitious work, we can get very caught up in the details and start to fall in love with an area of the painting that really is secondary or tertiary to the main focal point. And as we fall in love with that area, it can start to rise in importance, and all of a sudden it's competing. It could be because the colors start becoming too contrasted, the values are becoming too strong in their contrast, and so it's drawing attention away from the main focal point, which you would have already figured out in your preparatory sketch and color study. Stay true to your intention. Keep those small studies nearby so that you can constantly flick your eye back and forth to the simple distillation of what your intention was before you began. Oh, this hand that's way far down in the corner of this painting doesn't need to have as deep dark of shadows between the fingers because my eye is being drawn down to those shapes rather than to the conversation that's happening between these main figures. You see what I'm saying? Your color study and your preparatory sketch help to clarify that main intention. Stay true to it throughout the process of the painting. I've found that incorporating pre-planning before jumping into an ambitious work of art has given me more confidence when approaching the easel to begin, a much more enjoyable process and feeling of joy while painting, and it's also saved me a lot of paint because I don't end up using twice as much paint as I need to fix all the problems that I could have figured out at the beginning. I hope that these tips are helpful for you and that you will do the quick studies before you begin and make those paintings that are living in your brain. It's tips like these that can really revolutionize our creative process as artists. Something very simple that suddenly gives us the keys to creating the work that we've wanted to create but haven't quite known how to tackle. I so value getting advice and having communion with other artists that I've created an online virtual life painting group, the Broadcasting Brushers. We have currently over 60 artists from all around the world painting together twice monthly. We're live streaming on YouTube, painting models in 4K resolution. You can see the model, so you can paint or draw along with me, and you can also see my painting and my palette. And we're chatting together, and we're sharing not only the process and the joy of painting from life together and growing together, but also tips like these that really revolutionize our creative process. I hope you'll consider coming to paint with me.